Have you ever found yourself lost, deep in the woods or on a winding country road as darkness falls? A prickle of fear on your neck, the feeling of being watched. Now imagine, just as panic begins to set in, you see a gentle flickering light in the distance. A single lantern bobbing through the trees, held by a silent figure. This is the story of the Lantern Bride, a legend whispered by travelers and locals in hushed tones, a tale of both salvation and a chilling fate. For centuries, anyone who has lost their way in the old parts of the country, where the roads are unnamed and the forests are ancient, might be lucky enough to encounter her. They say she appears as a woman in a flowing, old-fashioned white dress, almost like a wedding gown, though it's tattered and worn by time. Her face is always obscured by shadows, but the one thing everyone remembers is the warm, inviting glow of the antique lantern she carries. She never speaks. She simply raises the lantern as if in greeting and begins to walk, leading the lost soul back to a marked path, a familiar road, or the edge of a town. Once you're safe, you might turn back to thank her, but she will have vanished, the light extinguished as if it were never there. Most people see her as a benevolent spirit, a guardian angel of the lost. And for the most part, they're right. She has guided countless people out of blizzards, away from treacherous cliffs, and through dense fog. But the story has a darker side, a detail that is often forgotten or intentionally left out. The Lantern Bride is not just a guide. She is a prisoner of her duty, and she is searching for a replacement. The legend begins with a young woman named Alara, who lived centuries ago. She was set to marry the love of her life, a man from a neighboring village. On the eve of her wedding, a terrible storm rolled in. Worried that her fiancé might get lost traveling to her, she lit a lantern and went out into the storm to meet him, to guide him safely to her home. She searched all night, her wedding dress soaked and muddied, the wind tearing at her hair. But she never found him, and she never returned. Some say she succumbed to the elements, her body lost to the unforgiving wilderness. Others say her grief was so powerful that it anchored her spirit to the mortal world. She became a ghost, forever trapped in that final, desperate act of love lighting the way for a traveler she would never find. Her own fiancé, as it turned out, had wisely decided to wait out the storm and arrived safely the next morning, only to find his beloved bride missing. He searched for her his entire life, never marrying, and died an old man, still calling her name into the woods. So now, Alara, the Lantern Bride, wanders the dark places of the world. Her active guidance is a reenactment of her final moments, an eternal looping search. But this isn't a selfless act of kindness, not entirely. Her spirit is bound to the lantern. It is both her tool and her shackle, and like any prisoner, she yearns for freedom. The legend says that once every generation, the Lantern Bride will not simply lead a lost traveler to safety. She will instead offer them the lantern. This is the true test, the moment that separates a simple ghost story from a terrifying cautionary tale. To most, a lantern offered by a spectral figure in the dead of night is something to be refused. But imagine you are freezing, terrified, and desperate. The lantern represents warmth, light, and hope. It's an incredibly tempting offer. If the lost traveler refuses the Lantern Bride will simply nod, turn, and fade into the darkness, leaving them to find their own way. They might still be lost, but their soul remains their own. However, if they accept the lantern, if they reach out and take it from her ghostly hands, the curse is past. In that instant, the traveler's physical body will collapse, their life force extinguished. But their spirit will remain, now bound to the lantern. The Lantern Bride, Alara, will finally be free. Her form will dissipate like smoke, her centuries-long vigil finally over. The person who took the lantern is now the new guide, the new ghost, forced to wander the lonely roads and dark forests, lighting the way for others. They become the next lantern bride or lantern groom, doomed to repeat the cycle, endlessly searching for their own replacement. There's a story from about 50 years ago of a young hiker named Thomas who went missing in the national park. An extensive search found no trace of him. Weeks turned into months. A year later, a group of campers got hopelessly lost in a sudden, thick fog in that same park. They were about to give up hope when they saw a faint light. It was a lantern held by a figure in modern hiking gear. The figure, a young man, silently guided them back to the main trail. When they tried to thank him, he simply vanished. They later identified him from a missing persons poster at the ranger station. It was Thomas. He had taken the lantern. This is the chilling reality of the legend. The woman in the tattered wedding dress might not be Alara anymore. The spirit guiding the lost could be anyone. It could be a soldier from a long-forgotten war, a pioneer who strayed from the trail, or a modern-day hiker like Thomas. Each one a victim of their own desperation, who made the fateful choice to accept the lantern. So what does this mean for you? It means if you are ever lost and you see a single swaying light in the darkness, you should be grateful. Follow it by all means. Let it guide you to safety, but keep your distance. Do not get too close. Do not try to speak to the figure, and whatever you do, if they stop, turn, and offer you the lantern, you must refuse. Your life may depend on it. Thank the spirit for its guidance, but turn away. It is better to face the darkness with your soul intact than to become another ghost, another prisoner of the light, forever holding a lantern and searching for the one person who will finally set you free. The Lantern Bride is a story of love, loss, and a duty that becomes a curse. She is a savior to many, but she is also a harbinger of a terrible fate. She is a warning that sometimes the greatest acts of kindness are born from the deepest wells of sorrow, and that even in the most welcoming light, shadows can be hiding, waiting to claim you. So be careful out there and never, ever take the lantern. Thanks for tuning in to this spooky tale. If you have any local legends you'd like me to explore, drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories from the shadows. Stay safe and stay curious.